Hello guys and welcome there to PAX and Recreation. And you see they've missed it. You know what that means. It's not Ravnica, it's Tarkir Dragonstorm, but I didn't have any other playmat that had a dragon on it, weirdly. At least not as the main centerpiece. Weirdly enough, I have to admit. And I am a big dragon guy, but weird. So, Commander deck time. And we're going to, this time we have 5. Normally I just put them here on top of the playmat, but I wanted to show something that just rings my bell, right? So I normally never show you like the box where the decks come in, and it has the whole like, watch out, stop if it's open, blah, blah, blah. I just wanted to show this because it really tickles my OCD in a pleasant way. Guys, they come in the box in color order. So Abzan, Jeska, Sultai, Mardotem, or great. And you may be like, what do you mean color order if they are 3 colors? Like, no, like, yes. But if you check the pre-releases, which link here or down below or whatever, you will see that, yes, they are 3 colors, but each of them has like a main color, which normally is the first, right? So Abzan, Jeska, Sultai, Mardotem, they come in order. Now, another thing that I wanted to point out is that this box is not that big and it fits 5. And this is part of the beautiful evolution of the Commander deck boxes. Well, not the boxes as in the deck box, but as in the box where the deck comes in. This is the newest model that is not the horizontal model. Now they only do the horizontal model for Universes Beyond. More or less, it's not really clear to me when they do one or the other. Like Wizards is very iffy with that. It's not clear at all. But this is the slim Commander deck design. So now in that box they can fit 5, whereas in the past they could fit 3, maybe 4. Because as you know, we went through multiple types of Commander deck boxes from the beginning of time. Which, by the way, I'm going to show you all of this. And we're going to review the gameplay and we're going to talk about the decks themselves. But this channel is the cardboard channel, baby, so we need to talk about cardboard. So we're going to start not in alphabetical order, but in color order. So the first one is going to be Abzan. Look at this beauty of design synchronization. But before we talk about the deck itself, we're going to compare it for a second. This is the previous default Commander deck box. Look at this. So yeah, I mean, okay, Wizards. Like so a lot of people make a lot of fuss about this, like, because before we had the big ass cards, right? So and still it was kind of thinner than this. And these ones were thicker because they had like the deck box with the cards in there, and they had like this showcase. I don't mind it. I think it's cool. You have the card, the front and center. I think this is more visually appealing. Like you have the artwork taking place, and in this case with the color of the scales here as the opening part, and then you have the logo here and the cards and a little bit of an explanation of the deck, compared to before where it was like a bunch of not very properly used space. Before, you had like 5 card examples, and then you had the Commander deck, and these are the horizontal ones. Now I only have this one with me. This one is better, a lot better. Now it's kind of tricky. It's like the original MacBook Air is like, it's very thin. It's like, well, not that thin, right? The thing has a weird shape. But because they had to do this thing, which thankfully they don't do anymore, because these cards suffer a lot, mostly the foil ones, if they are not like properly secure inside these like showcase plastic things. And now I don't have one at hand. I have one somewhere, but I can't find it. For Doctor Who and so on. Now it's like completely horizontal, so it no longer has this thing, and it kind of goes this way also. Like they showcase the art, and then they have the thing. So I don't know. I think it's cool just to like in a box like that one, you couldn't fit like maybe 3 of these, whereas now they can fit 5, and the box is a lot smaller. And for a lot of you that just hoard them to sell them later, or even for shipping and whatnot, is better. And let's be honest, I mean, if you want to save them as boxes, the less space they occupy, the better. So I guess there is that. And if you're gonna open them, what you care, right? So I think it's a win-win. They can ship more stuff in smaller boxes and yada. So that was the cardboard part of this review. Now, one thing that I want to point out, we are going to do like a video on this, just to be clear. I think I mentioned this multiple times on the channel, but I normally buy 2 of these. Like I've been playing with one of these, with each of these since launch, basically. And normally they are 4, normally. So it's easy to do pods and try to see them react to each other and whatnot. Being 5, it took longer than expected because you need to do some rotation, and it's kind of a... but it makes sense that it's 5 because of the cans of Tarkir and all that. Like it makes sense. So I'm not complaining about the number itself. I'm complaining about, well, it's more difficult to test, but it was done. Now, one thing that pleases my brain is that normally I open them. So I have 2, right? The ones that I've been playing with and the new ones, they show you guys, and then I give this to my friends, or I sell some cards or whatever. Or sometimes I have 2 of each because why not? But I keep the main one inside the Ultra Pro deck boxes. The cheap ones are like $4 or $5 depending on where you buy them and whatnot. These ones. And because they have the face commander and whatnot. So they have a really good, strong monopoly going on there because they have the face commander. So, your OCD goes there. And normally on the top, they say Magic the Gathering. Well, I'm very pleased to say they fixed it, baby. Now it has the name of the deck. It's just beautiful. Look at this. It's just beautiful. Now, if you are like me and you use the PRECONs as board games, kind of, like I normally have a PRECON without alterations just to use as a board game. Like, people come to my home and they just pick between PRECONs and they are more or less balanced, right? So you just pick one. And now with this, you can even store them vertically and see the name on top. It's like such a simple thing and it just smashes. I'm wondering if Ultra Pro is going to keep doing this for the rest of the decks, of the deck boxes. Maybe not. Who knows? I just wanted to show that. And that was the plastic section of the video. And now, with all that being said, then yes, let's go and let's start talking about the decks themselves. So, Abzan Armor, Tarkir Dragonstorm. So, we're going in order, and then at the end, I'm going to order them by the one I like the most, the one I like least, always from a gameplay perspective and maybe flavor, not so much price, because by the time I do these videos, the price already changed a lot and whatever. So really, if you are interested in that, just go check the profs video or something. So let your shield be your sword. I'm gonna be honest here. When I saw these and when I saw these, play defenders turn toughness into power, I was kind of excited. Now, I'm not the biggest Abzan fanboy in terms of color combinations. To be honest, I am normally not very into most color combinations that have black in them. Not because of anything in particular. It's just I don't like the playing with the graveyard. That I always say that. It's a me thing, and it's one of the strongest strategies, right? But I was very excited about this. So all these, by the way, we're going to just go more in detail with the first one, then the other ones I'm just going to go faster. Show the true spirit of the Abzan, even with the logo, right? So I love when they have that level of detail and attention to the flavor of the deck. See, even with the smaller deck box, all that space is still there. And I think that they do that out of a, perceivable value thing, the PS5 was heavy just because it was the PS5 also, but the PS3 was heavy just because it is expensive, and because of that they put the insert in a bigger size now. Because I think it's mostly because of the deck box. They can't fit to make it this smaller. Maybe if they assemble it and the deck box becomes just the cardboard box becomes just this. I don't know. It really comes down to. But I think that from a marketing perspective, people just prefer this bigger box. But don't be surprised if with time, this becomes the box that you buy, maybe a little bit bigger than this, because you can fit this in here too, right? So it is what it is. But yeah, you have a deck box, if you can call it that, a cardboard one. Listen, if you can get your hands into this, which again, it's not because of the price, because these ones are cheap and very fragile, but because those actually are kind of difficult to get your hands into because some retailers don't have them, and the Ultra Pro just charge you a lot for shipping and whatnot. So one thing that I have to say in defense of these cardboard boxes is, well, you have the can, you have the spirit dragon, the mana symbols and whatnot, and you have the clan symbol in there, which is a very, very nice detail for something that is just, made of cardboard. If I had to be picky, instead of putting Magic the Gathering here, I will put the name of the deck, like Ultra Pro did. But, just asking too much, I guess. Now, we don't have the life wheel anymore. We're gonna open this in a second. For like, I don't know, a year and a half already, maybe, we don't have the life wheel. Which is kind of a shame, not that anyone really used it, whatever. And then Felothar, the Steadfast, and Betor, Ancestor's Voice. So you have Felothar on one side, Betor is not on the other, and you just have like the basic explanation of like the color wheel and the commander rules and how to play the deck, right? Build your walls and knock your opponents down with durable defense. And I mean, if you want to read that, please pause the video. My video is already long enough. I don't want to torture you anymore. Now, this is kind of interesting in this type of packaging, that is that the thing comes out. Now they put the symbol here, that's cool. And this is kind of a cool presentation, not gonna lie, because this thing is hidden, right? Only you will see this. You have the deck in here, and you have some counters, which is not bad. And we have the deck here. So let's see what we have in the Sample Booster Collector Pack, or Sample Collector Booster Pack. Now, to be clear, you will never get any value from this. This is like a, first one is free kids type of thing, just to get you, or try to get you hooked on collector boosters. Let's see, Kotis, the Fankeeper. Okay, not bad. I mean, Kotis is one of the commanders from the Sultai deck, if I recall correctly. But this is the set one, which normally people say that the set ones are the best ones. They actually kind of work with the deck too, so that's interesting. And Twin Mouse Stormbird, not bad, but you don't buy these for this. This is kind of a nice extra of sorts, so it is what it is. And now for the deck. Now, as I was saying, I was pleasantly surprised with this deck. As you know, there are I will say there are three types of deck buyers or deck enthusiasts when it comes to PRECON. Or actually, well, a proper YouTuber will say the target audience, right? There is a very specific target audience. Man, this thing doesn't peel or what? There is a very specific target audience for PRECONs, right? There are multiple ones, but like use cases, let's say. Either you are a very casual player to Magic the Gathering and it's like, oh, let's see, I want to start playing Commander because everyone says Commander is the only way that you can play Magic and whatnot, right? By the way, this should be a lot easier because I'm wearing gloves. You will be like, oh, that's because of gloves. Actually, the gloves should make it easier because of friction, but whatever. So either you are a... Man, these cards smell freaking awful. Jeez, damn. They smell like a passion fruit that is already over its date. Damn. So I know it's a very weird thing to say, but bear with me. So the tokens, which you can tell by the color difference, and it comes with 10 tokens. We're gonna talk about the tokens, and then the 10 new cards normally are the first 10. Talk about the tokens and then about the commander. Now, and you have like a reference card because why not, right? So I was very excited about this because you have multiple types of deck buyer, right? You have the casuals that are just like, oh yeah, I want to play Magic and I don't know how and whatnot, right? And that's cool. And then you have people like me that, I know how to play Magic. I am playing this thing for the longest time, maybe too long. And I just like PRECON ideas or concepts or whatnot. And some people like PRECONs because of the flavor. It's like, oh, a Doctor Who or like Final Fantasy or Dragons, right? Some people because of the mechanics or the idea of the deck. And then some people just buy them because of the value. So that they try to buy them as fast as possible and try to turn them for profit and whatnot, right? I don't fit in the first or the last one. It really goes between like flavor and mechanics, right? And in the case of Tarkir, it's like, well, listen, it's Dragons, right? So you can't go wrong with that. Well, I mean, looking at the last sets, maybe they could go wrong with that, but I was excited about the mechanics. As I said, most of my favorite PRECONs are weird mechanics, or at least mechanics that are not as often used as making a typal deck or tribal deck, right? It's like, oh, well, this one is Knights, this one is is about warriors or yeah, or this one is about something else, right? Or like vampires or whatnot. It's like, that's cool, and that's easy to get into people's eyes, but it's not interestingly mechanically. Now, this one is interestingly mechanically, in the mechanical sense. Why? Because you have two commanders, which, we don't have a life wheel, but now at least we have the two commander and the main commander and the secondary commander, or the optional commander, or whatever you want to call it. They both come in full art and foil. And in the case of the Abzan armor, now you always, except for one that we're going to see in a second, you always have the Khan and the Spirit Dragon, right? So you can choose between the two. In these decks, more than any other of the precons that we've seen in recent years, it really feels like they try to make them a equal choice. Now, it's very funny to me that this deck, those 5 decks, really seem like the decks to bring back the partner mechanic, because the Khan and the Spirit Dragon, that's kind of the story of the whole thing. But I maybe they were like, nah, this thing is already broken as hell as it is, so let's not, by standing alone, they are more flexible to use in different decks, but I digress. So, Felotar the Steadfast. Normally the thing is, the Khan is cheaper, the Dragon is more expensive, that's kind of how it is. Before we read the description here, let's just see the tokens so that you can imagine what type of deck it is. Kind of spoilers, because they already said defenders, right? Like you have a wall, a 1/3 defender wall, an insect with flying and death touch, a spider with reach, a bird with flying, another wall with defender, another spider. The spiders are defender creatures by nature. Normally they have reach and bigger defense toughness than power. A inkling, insect, bird, inkling, wall, spider, insect, wall, bird, inkling, spider, bird, insect. So you can already see that there is that famous card here for generating inklings, and you can already see that there is going to be a lot of birds and spiders. So there's some token generation here. Now let's see the two commanders, and we were going to talk about what this deck is about and how fun it is to play with. So the main commander, Felotar, says each is a 0/5, and it costs you Abzan and 1, and it's a legendary creature, human warrior. It says each creature you control assigns combat damage equal to its toughness rather than its power. Creatures you control can attack as though they didn't have defender. And that's already a very cool idea right there, because there are a lot of cards that are just like sitting there. Now, the sad thing, quote unquote, about this card, I guess it gives it more real estate for Wizards in the future to do it in other colors, but the sad thing is that this thing doesn't include blue. Blue has some very good walls, you know what I mean? Now, green and white, mostly white, have great walls, but blue has some very tricky walls, and sadly they will not be included here, which is kind of a shame. But creatures you control can attack as though they didn't have defenders. So this unlocks the defenders, and then the toughness will make them is what you can attack with. And then for 3 and tap, sacrifice another creature. Draw cards equal to the sacrifice creature's toughness, then discard cards equal to its power. So it basically, it's a very passive card that the basic effect, well, it's passive. The whole deck is kind of passive. That's kind of the joke, but because it's defenders and whatnot. But the whole thing here is this bad boy. It makes trouble just by sitting there, which is good, right? And then it assigns damage equal to the it says assign combat damage, right? So it's not like only when you attack or anything like that. It's whenever they are involved in combat, and you can make them attack. So its abilities are very passive. Now you have like this one for like rotating cards in your in your hand. If you have cards like Felotar, you will get a lot of cards and then sacrifice none, right? So this is very good for card draw. It's actually very interesting if you have a bunch of walls. So that's kind of cool. It's not the cheapest thing in the world. You have to 3 and tap, but listen, if you only by having Felotar, although it says sacrifice another creature, so it cannot be Felotar. You need to have creatures like Felotar, which you will see in a second. The deck is it has kind of enough, but not as much. Obviously, it's a precon, so you can upgrade as you want. And then you had Betor, Ancestor's Voice, which costs Abzan and 2, so it's 1 more expensive. It has flying and lifelink, and it says at the beginning of your end step, put a number of those 1+1 counters on up to 1 other target creature you control equal to the amount of life you gain this turn. Return up to 1 target creature card with mana value less than or equal to the life you lost this turn from the graveyard to the battlefield. Now, it's interesting because they both play defensively, but in different ways, right? A lot of people say that this better is better, joke. But then there are a lot of people saying that the actual good better is the one from the set, right? And yeah, I can see why. And there are conspiracy theories about like, no, the actual card that should be here is the one from the set and whatnot. But what I like about this is that, you know, when we do precons, I normally say like, oh, this deck is trying to do too many things at the same time. And this one is trying to do 2 things. Now, the 2 things are not too incompatible with each other. And those are reflected in between the commanders. So each creature you control, one is just to play with defenders and flip defenders on your opponent, and you get card draw by sacrificing some of those defenders. And the other is all about lifelink and just, you know, gaining life and bringing things from the graveyard. So there are 2 different types of defender. It's very interesting how they play with this, right? This is like defender in the most literal sense. You play with defenders, but they're actually unlocked, so you can actually attack with them. And this is more of a hold the fort kind of card, because you are there, and things with lifelink that you have some in the deck will just gain life. That gaining life will allow you to bring stuff back from the graveyard to the battlefield and keep going and keep going and keep going. So keep being very persistent, right? So I really like both. If I had to choose one, you will see in a second where my preference lays based on the cards on the precon as it stands, right? So you have, again, Protector of the Waste. You will see the theme, right? I'm not going to go through all of them in detail, but I just want to show you that this creature enters or becomes monstrous, exile up to 2 target artifacts. So you have some good wide removal here, the classic, returning number of target cards with total power 10 or less from your graveyard to the battlefield. This card is great for this deck because, well, power is not the name of the deck, it's toughness, right? So, Jaws of Defeat. Whenever a creature you control enters, target opponent loses life equal to the difference between the creature's power and its toughness. So, a lot of and this is the funny thing, a lot of the new cards and the interestingly tricky cards are actually kind of there for Fellothar, right? For the Fellothar approach, which makes sense because he's the main commander. Now, it's weird because, you know, it's Dragonstorm and they are supposed to be like the can and the dragon together and whatnot, but still, if you control a commander, as you may cast this spell, you may choose both. Any number of target opponents each sacrifice a creature with the greatest power among creatures that player controls and lose 3 life, and return target creature card from your graveyard to the battlefield. So you have a lot of these, right? You have a lot of just bothersome cards. This is not the creatures in here are not the most expensive. They are kind of interesting that most of them are very defensive. Now you will see that, yeah, you have a lot of defenders like Tree of Redemption. This is just there, ready to, you know, just a defender at 13 for 3 and 1, so that's kind of cool. And then if you have your commander in play, this thing basically can attack for 13, so that's great. And then exchange your life total with this creature's toughness, which is like in case of emergency, break the glass. Ikra Shidiki, the Usurper, or Usurper. So for 3 and 7 menace, a creature you control this combat damage to a player, you gain life equal to that. So some of these actually play more into the dragon side, into better with gaining life. But it's not really the thing, right? It's all about toughness. So it's all about toughness. You do have a one or another card. See, if you will gain life, you will gain twice that much life instead. So it's funny because, again, normally I say this and I really believe it. Like, you normally have cards like these. Setalpa is here again. Like, you have cards like these where you go like, okay, so it makes sense, right? They are more or less, well, this one is not a good example because this costs 6 and 2 for a 4/8, but it's because it has all the freaking keywords. But Normally, the new cards with Defender are cheaper because, toughness is kind of whatever, but you can, kind of whatever, quotation, when it comes to like scaling and doing the converted mana cost of cards. And you will see that a lot of these cards, Anguish Unmaking is here, which is great. The even great reprints like Dragonlord Dromoka. Your opponents can't cast spells during your turn. This is great, 5/7, right? It kind of looks a little bit like you can just like go look for dragons. Although, let's be honest, this deck doesn't need to have dragons. It starts as a dragon deck because it's Tarkir Dragonstorm, but it's not. By the way, fun fact: this is one of the few. This is one of the few cards that I'm missing from Phyrexia. All will be one, and I'm always saying like, I need to buy them. I need to buy them. I need to buy them. I saw it in the deck, and I was like, well, now I have it. But I just can't be happy because it's not from the same set, and I'm that type of collector. So. Yep, but see, this is an example, right? Like destroy target permanent, add 1 mana of any color, proliferate, draw a card, and tap this artifact. So this card is here and it's great, but it kind of could not be here. It's like whatever. Like this card kind of fits in a lot of decks, and it's funny that it's just here because the proliferate, I assume, is more because of better, right? It's like put a number of +1/+1 counters on up to one target creature equal to the amount of life you gain, and then you proliferate, right? That sort of thing. But that's why I'm saying that it's interesting that this deck really, really screams, I am doing two things at the same time. They are not awfully incompatible with each other, but yeah, like this is one of the weirdest stories, by the way. It's there, right? Like half of it is gaining life, and the other half is inverted toughness creatures, so like basically defenders, and it's on one of both sides, right? So my quick from the hip kind of upgrade guide for this is if you play with this as is, it's an interesting deck. I like it because I like weird and annoying decks. Now, your friends may not like this, depending on what are the other decks on the table, mostly because this deck can be very, very slow. And the reason why I say that is because, as you saw, half of your deck here is made of defenders and things to just remove stuff from your opponents, and the other half is, well, let's gain life, right? Which, is literally half and half. Now, I will recommend play with the deck if you get it, right? If any of these two strategies interest you, which, to be honest, this is the new interesting strategy, this is okay. Now, if you see the other better, yeah, maybe it's more flexible, but this one is the weird new thing. This one is kind of a more reasonable approach to a creature. Play the deck and see which one of the two sides you like more. I think that better this one or the other, but mostly this one, are cards that really benefit from lifelink and whatnot, and therefore the deck will need to be more towards that side. But if you really like Fellothar, you just need to swap a bunch of cards and just not have all that lifelink thing, because it's not that it's gonna hurt you, but it's not really helping the cause. Like the main point of this deck is having a bunch of defenders and big toughness creatures, and then having all those weird spells on top, and all that, just having each creature you control assigns combat damage equal to its toughness rather than its power, right? And that's the whole joke of this. So this deck is good. It's kind of slow, and it's kind of a deck for stalling. It's weird, right? Because the defenders that you have there, you have some weird, powerful defenders, but not all the crazy. Again, some of the craziest defender cards are blue that I can remember at least. But it does lean a little too much into white. I don't know if you saw it. Like if you just go through the cards like this, you have a lot of white cards, and green cards are just there to be like, yeah, you get a lot of defense, or like, no, this is a defender card. It's like green is not doing a lot in this deck. You know what I mean? Like green is kind of there to help with some stuff, and you have most of your like, I guess, defender cards are green, but the deck is mostly white, right? Like the deck is mostly white, and there are some black spells here to just be very annoying. But again, just by doing this, you can see what I'm talking about. Like you have some black spells in here that are not even like the craziest defender, right? It's like just the destroy creatures, just like to remove stuff from you. And from the new cards, yes, you have some of the craziest are black, but it's a weird deck. It's mostly white. I believe that you can make this better in a variety of ways. Now, I will go into more detail into comparisons when I compare them, but my take from that deck is it's slow, but it works. I like it. And it's interesting. That commander, Felothar, in my opinion, unlocks for a world of crazy things to do. Because, I like these type of cards that you look at this card and immediately you think of, all these 30 years of cards and think like, there are some defenders that I can use for this. Now that, similar to the Doctor Who deck where you went like, so everything that puts time counters I can use here? Now we're talking, right? So that's kind of the thing. Whereas the Betor, I don't feel it's better because, it's like, yeah, it's a lifelink, +1/+1, it's cool, you get returns things from the graveyard, so I guess that objectively this one is more competitive, but you will need to build a proper deck around this. Like, again, I guess you have precons and precons, right? This precon feels like a half and half starter kit. It's like you can play with that one as is. It will be a stale deck. Not stale because the deck is stale, but like a stalling deck, right? It is a deck for stalling. And I like it. It's cool. I think it's a weird idea of a deck. Now, it does feel like it's trying to do the things like lifelink. It's okay if you are playing with Felothar instead of Betor, just because it kind of feels like you are trying to defend yourself. So it doesn't feel like you're going against the thing. You know what I mean? But it's not as if everything was defenders and you're flipping the table, right? And if you were playing with Betor only, yeah, everything will have to have lifelink and you will just sacrifice stuff and, So it's missing there, but I like it. I like it a lot. You will see where it fits into the great scheme of things. Now, Jeskai Striker, it's certainly a deck. This deck has weird feelings for me for multiple plays. Play as either commander. I love that they have to say like, you can do the thing. So the packaging is what it is. Hit hard and hit often. And Jeskai is one of my favorite color combinations, right? Not my favorite, but one of. So you have blue, red, and white. So a lot of, you know what I mean? A lot of, now that I think about it, and you will see in a second. Now the scales on this one, kind of mixing the three colors there. Lead the way, right? So very cool. I'm just a sucker for this thing. Sorry, I mean, it's my thing. Oh, this one was kind of packaged like in a rush. Now, the deck box, which is funny because all of them have the dragon, and you will see in a second why I say it's funny. And here is Narset, so it's even funnier if you look at the box the way it is, with Narset on one side and the dragon on the other. So Jeskai Striker, playing the deck. You don't need to spend years mastering martial arts and to master this Jeskai deck. Shiko and Narset are the commanding duo. It helps you all do spells, blah, 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 right? So you will see in a second what they mean by this. You can pause it if you want. And then Shiko and Narset unified. And this is a thing that we're going to see in a second that really, really, really bothers me. And even if you read this, now they do add some context, like during the Phyrexian invasion to defend the plane. This gated spell, blah, blah, isn't this spell in your allies, as one of the spirit dragons, both for the Storm Nexus ritual, Shiko embodied the passions. Shiko is oriented, blah, blah, she observes and often gathers us. So they give you the Narset story, which actually kind of has some context from the Phyrexian invasion, and then the Shiko story. And why is this important? Because this is an anti-OCD thing, my dear friends. I will show you in a second. Because pam 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 pam. Well, before that, let's open the sample booster. just to see what we got. Not that is, hyper relevant. I always see this as like a kind of a bonus track thing. Like you shouldn't ever buy this thing looking at this. Let's see. Eshki Dragon Claw. Okay, not bad. It kind of is one of the commanders too. So if we keep this trend, we can have one of the commanders just in a special art for the others, and then real Dawnbreaker. Okay, so we get a human and a dragon in all of them? Maybe, who knows? So I have a problem with this deck, and you should have one too. So let's remove the tokens so that you can see what you can try to guess what the deck does if you don't know the insert card, because why not? There's always room for an insert card. Now let's see the tokens, right? Before I go in a rant about this deck. Treasure token, Monk, Elemental token, Monk, Copy token, which the copy token for Dragonstorm is amazing. Soldier, which they use the automaton because it's an artifact creature, but still. Gold, which this is from Theros, I think, maybe? I don't know. Elemental, another Monk. Dragon Illusion, so that's promising. Treasure. First made Ragavan, you know what is coming. Elemental, Monk, Copy, Soldier, Gold, Monk, an Elemental, and a Dragon Illusion. So you can see that we're going to do a lot of monkey business, see, because Ragavan and monks, it's all comedy in this channel, guys. So first things first, it comes with two commanders, Shiko and Narset Unified, and Ilsha threefold Master. Now, I've been doing some research, right? And maybe I'm missing something. If I'm missing something, let me know. I did an extra time on the insert so that we can get some attention to that insert, because the insert doesn't explain it. Now, I would like to know why, of all the commander decks, the Jeskai one, because you will see the others right in a second, but because we're doing it in color order, so otherwise for impact, I will leave this one for the end, but we'll leave this one for the end. Why Shiko and Narset are the same card? Like, I would like that each commander deck, if we're doing this, right? If each commander deck had the unified card, it's like, okay, it makes sense. Or if maybe the unified cards were in the set, because it's the Khans and the Spirit Dragons, and maybe for flavor reasons. But then you have Elsha. You have Elsha, the threefold Master. I don't know why, because the card is okay, but just make one for her and one for the dragon. I think that maybe the problem was like they didn't know how to put them separate, and they were like, just put them together, I guess. Because, again, if you know Narset could be doing what Elsha is doing here. I don't understand why. So let's look at the powers for a second. It triggers me because like you get all the deck boxes, you get all the things, you get even the names on the Ultra Pro things, so everything makes sense. And then Wizard is like, okay, you know what? Let's make the Jeskai one have the two in the same card instead of being separate like the others. People will love that. So legendary creature, Human Spirit Dragon, is a 4/4 and it costs Jeskai and 1. It has Flying Vigilance. It has Flurry. Flurry means whenever you cast your second spell each turn, copy that spell if it targets a permanent or player, and you may choose new targets for the copy. If you don't copy a spell this way, draw a card, which is pretty good, I have to say, right? So it's a very good ability. Now the deck is a different story. It's 4-piece, led by example, which makes sense that they are together if that's the thing, right? And it's like if the deck is mainly blue, which seems to be it's like, well, I guess it's like, it's like blue and white are here, so it's kind of an order thing, like with in Ravnica with the what's the name of the blue-white faction? Damn, I'm getting old. Well, you know what I mean, the white-blue faction, right, from Ravnica. So because then you have Elsha, and it's like, okay, cool, what does this person do? And it costs Jeskai, is a 1/1, it's a Djinn or a Jinn monk, and it has trample, has prowess, and whenever it deals combat damage to a player, create that many 1/1 white monk creature tokens with prowess. I am of the opinion that monkey business could be with Narset, and then have the dragon do flurry and whatnot, but What do I know, right? Like, I don't know. This is kind of mostly a flavor and consistency thing. It's not gonna ruin your life or anything. Now, between these two, you can tell that this is a very different approaches, less flavorful, of course, but kind of different approaches. One is very blue, right? So Shiko and Narset are very blue. They have Flying and Vigilance, but they are very blue. The whole flurry thing is like you cast a second spell. It's like that spell slinger deck. Like you just cast a second spell and it copies, and you can just keep removing things or countering things or whatnot if that's your second spell. Or just draw cards. That's perfectly good. So this is kind of a commander to be sitting there while you go pew 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 with spells, right? So yes, it has Flying and Vigilance, so you can kind of take a free shot here and there. And it's kind of cheap, it's 4 for a 4/4 with Flying Vigilance and that effect. But it kind of contrasts a lot with Elsha. Elsha is just a very aggressive card. This card is mostly red, which I guess that's why red is a lot in her color design. But it has trample and prowess, and whenever it deals combat damage, you create that many one monk creature tokens with prowess. So these two abilities are not very compatible with each other. And you will see a theme with all of them. If you have the two at the same time, they do have some sort of resonance with each other. But in this case, it's kind of weird. They can be like completely standalone decks on their own. They don't necessarily are compatible. But it's true that whenever you cast a non-creature spell, this creature gets +1/+1 until the end of turn. And it's true that if for some cosmic reason you have both at the same time, your second spell that you have the first one that already casts prowess, but then your second spell can be copied, and then that will trigger prowess again. I think maybe not. I don't know. I will need to check MTG Assist for that one. But two different strategies, and you can tell that one a lot in the deck because those are two different strategies that are not necessarily compatible with each other. So things like Align Hard, it has flurry. Is basically whenever you cast a second spell each turn, put a rally counter on this enchantment, then each create a 1/1 monk creature for each rally counter on it. Not bad for enchantment. Really made, you can almost like put these two cards on one side and you just start putting cards on one pile or the other. You go like, okay, this is a monk card. Let's see, Storm. Enchant creatures you control. Enchant creature gets +1/+1 for each enchantment you control. This can go both ways, kind of. But Storm with Flurry, maybe this goes to Narset. Adaptive Training Post. Maybe this card smells awful. Damn. Whenever you cast an instant or sorcery spell, if this artifact has fewer than 3 charge counters on it, put a charge counter. Well, 3 charge counters on it. When you next cast an instant or spell is copied, it's like, well, I guess that goes for Narset, right? And boom. So the new prints, the new cards, kind of emulate what Shiko and Narset are doing, but it feels empty a little bit. Like, when this creature enters, if you cast it, counter target spell. If that spell was countered this way, exile. It's like, cool, I guess. Voracious Bibliophile. Whenever you cast a spell with 1 or more targets, draw that many cards. Cool, I guess. And then, so you have a lot of multiplying effects, but not really anything like, like the Spell Slinger deck or something like that. Like, it really feels like, a lot of these cards are trying to do things and they don't necessarily work together, which is fun because if you see the lore for Jeskai, it's like, it's kind of all about working together. Now, it's true, and let's stop for a second because we haven't reviewed that part, right? Like, you can skip this 2-hour-long video. I wish it would be 2 hours. You can skip this 2-hour-long video and just check the box, and it just goes like, cast extra spells, flurry spell effects. Now, a lot of people were hyped about this one because that's very blue and red and whatnot, but at the same time, it's like, that's the most repetitive and kind of less meaningful explanation, like, of the ones that we've seen so far. If you check this one, it's like play defenders, turn toughness into power. It's true, it's the main commander, it's not the second. Which I'm not realizing. Which I'm not realizing is Fellothar is a lady, maybe? Well, I guess I will call them they for the sake of covering my ass. So, transforming Flourish, destroy target artifact creature you don't control. If a permanent is destroyed this way, control exiles. So you have aggressiveness in spells, and then the whole idea is that you copy them because of Shiko and Narset, and then you have a lot of other cards here like Tempest Technique and whatnot that will just keep adding effects to your spells, and that's good, right? Like destroy all creatures and whatnot. So it's fun and kind of stupid that half of this deck it's funny Spellslinger shenanigans, and the other half, not really. Like some cards here, like Mangara is like, oh great, Mangara is here. Why? You know what I mean? When opponent casts their second spell each turn, draw a card. It's like, well, yes, but I want to be the one that casts the second spell each turn. It's like, this card is great. I have it in some of my decks, but here is like, for defensive purposes, because you can get cards, I guess. You know what I mean? It's like, again, it's a precon, so they're not going to build the most effective, consistent deck ever, right? But then, half of the deck is like, yeah, attack, right? And it's like, I guess, like, if you check hit hard and hit often, right? And the front is all about the spells. Now, this is the funny contradiction of this deck. And when I compare them, you will see the thing. But the funny contradiction of this deck is that half of the deck is about monks. And you know what the thing with monks in Magic is they are the Kung Fu monk variety. So they are supposed to just go there and kick your ass, right? And if you see Elsha, she's all about like, if she deals combat damage, you create more monks with prowess, and everyone has prowess, and you just keep doing damage, you create more monks, and you're right? That's the whole thing. And yes, some of these cards support that, and certainly this card supports that a lot, but some of the other cards in here are just to help your Spellslinger. Like spells can be countered, that's freaking great. And you can call things from flashback, and that's great. But that's for half the deck. Then the whole monk thing is like a secondary recursion thing. It's weird, right? Because precons are supposed to be this thing that it's for you to get into the game. Now, some people say that this deck has some dragons just because it's like Dragonstorm, and they're like, oh yeah, put some dragons because this deck. Like the other deck, you could maybe say like, oh, there are some defensive dragons and dragons with lifelink and whatnot, but this deck is like no need for like any dragon thing. They put some dragons in here just because it's Dragonstorm, but it's like nah. It can be. This is a wizard theme from top to bottom, or just a monk deck, depending on how you want to look at it, right? But this deck really feels like, I was saying about the others, like, well, you have two strategies. They kind of work with each other a little bit for the feeling of the deck, right? So in the Absent deck, it's like, well, the feeling is you are the defensive guy. You are the fortress guy. You are stalling for time. You are trying to do everything you can to, not let them. But this one is like half the deck is a Spellslinger deck, and you are just there to bother people. And then the other half of the deck is, oh yeah, we have monks, right? And depending on the luck that you have that day, it's not even half, right? It's like, I would say that's like 60-40. It's like 60% of the deck is Spellslinger and 40% of the deck is kind of monkey business, right? Like that's kind of how I feel about this deck. Now, I will play it from out of the box. Most of the times you will want to play with the Face Commander. This is one of those, in my opinion. If you want to play with the monk side of things, I mean, it works just because she has prowess, right? So whenever you are going to be casting spells, and that's gonna trigger prowess, which is gonna make her big, and she has trample, so she will always, or likely always, do combat damage, and that combat damage will generate more monks that had prowess, and then therefore you like snowball very fast. So it's not like the deck is entirely incompatible with Elsha. It's just like, it feels like we can also do this kind of thing. It's weird. It's not like a prowess deck. From top to bottom. It's kind of weird. It doesn't feel like it's flowing perfectly. And it's funny because it's the most kung fu monkey thing, right? And it's like, not really, not there. Now, for one of the crowd's favorites, you have Sultai Horizon. Sultai Horizon, so black, green, blue, fill the graveyard, return with zombie druids. I wasn't very excited about this because, as I said at the beginning, I'm not very into graveyard play and whatnot, right? So, but I was like, listen, you're gonna try everything in life, or almost everything. So, let's see. Death is fertile ground, and you see where this deck is going. So this deck is featuring black. It's funny because some people, you can see that the tendency of a person by which color is how they do the colors, right? And Wizards did the colors based on like the predominant color to have like the 5 and whatnot. But technically, you should always you should always order them by color wheel order. So it should be like blue, black, green. But I digress. Again, with a symbol there for the thing, the dragon, the can. Not bad. Yeah, he's missing, they are missing a hand, which is something that I don't like much design-wise, but it is what it is. It's a visual thing, so it's not like, Sultai Horizon. Playing the deck, dredge the bottom of the Sultai swamps with this graveyard churning strategy. And, we're going to talk about it in a second. You can pause it if you want to read. And then you have Tebal, the balance scale, and Kotis, Sipsik champion, right? So, a lot of people play with Tebal. You will see why in a second. I saw this very fun post, I think it was on Reddit, that, by the way, more context about the Phyrexian invasion and whatnot. It's like, oh, thank you, that's right. We have story in Magic the Gathering. By the way, Kotis is a guy, apparently. So there's a post on Reddit, I think, that was like, I can't unsee this. And was a person saying that these are the eyes of the dragon. Like, these are the actual eyes. Like, like you do this, and those are the eyes of the dragon. And it's like, yeah, like, I guess these are the eyes of the dragon, and these are the nostrils and whatnot. But, people, right? So just something to ruin your day, like, that golden eye thing with the mouth, or like the Bioshock thing that looks like Bomberman or whatnot. So the counters, all of them have the same color, by the way. And it's funny because you will see that, in the others, we kind of did a transition here. The main commander for one is Felothar. So it was a human warrior. It was one of the cans. And then for the Jeskai, it was kind of a 50-50 deck. Like both the dragon and the can are together. And then for this one, the dragon is the main commander, right? So this is more frustrating than you can realize, just because it should be easy to open and it's not, and it bothers me so much. And obviously, with gloves, peeling with gloves is a lot more difficult. And you're like, why are you using gloves? These are just precons. There is nothing valuable there. It's like, it's not because of the value of the cards. It's because my hands are ugly, people. Stop asking about it. So, I know what we call like a meme. It's like, I have the ugliest hands in Magic the Gathering. It's like, not really. I don't like them, but it's not like, I don't think they are like monstrous hands or anything. Or maybe they are. Who knows? So, tokens, commanders, insert deck, and the demo, the sample pack. I was, for some reason, I couldn't think of the word sample. Let's see, are we getting another of the cans of the thing? Well, Sage of the Skies. Shame. I love these cards, by the way, with the symbols on the behind them and whatnot. It's just very cool. And an Armament Dragon. Okay, not bad. Cool. This is this, right? It's like, oh, cool, they look nice, and that's it. If I haven't seen anyone, if you know, please let me know, but I haven't seen anyone opening a sample booster and getting an amazing pool. It's just like okay pools, right? It's like cool, just to get you hooked into the visuals. So what is this? What is the Sultai deck about? What is the Sultai deck that says fill the graveyard, return with zombie druids? What is this deck gonna be about? I don't know. Let's try to guess by looking at the tokens. Zombie druid, treasure, plant, insect, goat, timeless witness, cool card, plant, zombie druid, goat, zombie druid, insect, plant, salamander warrior. I'm gonna love some of those weird tokens. Goat, zombie druid, an experience token, insect, plant, treasure, and insect. So a lot of bugs. Someone that needs experience counters. A lot of zombie druids, which is what was promised. So let's see the two commanders here. Teval, or Tival, I guess it's Teval. Teval, the balance scale for 1, and Sultai is a 4/4 spirit dragon with flying. It says whenever Teval attacks, mill 3 cards, then you may return a land card from your graveyard to the battlefield tapped. By the way, one thing that I haven't mentioned, to Wizards of the Coast credit, these cards are full art and foil, but they are all beautiful. Like all of them are beautiful, and it's not like in some precons it feels like they are full art, but they didn't put their A game into them because the cards look like very empty, the space and whatnot. But these ones just look badass. So points there. Flying. Whenever Teval attacks, mill 3 cards, then you may return a land card from your graveyard to the battlefield tab. So some land recovery. And whenever 1 or more cards leave your graveyard, create a 2/2 black zombie druid creature token. So pam 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 pam. So not bad, because returning a land card from your graveyard to the battlefield counts as cards leaving your graveyard. So boom 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 boom, right there a combo, and this is why this is main commander. But now let's see Kotis. So Kotis, I guess, Sipsig champion for Sultai is a 3/3. By the way, missed opportunity that the cans or the not dragons should cost just like the clan. So like Sultai, Jeskai, like 3 mana each, and then the dragons will be more expensive, but asking for too much consistency. So 3/3. Once during each of your turns, you may cast a creature spell from your graveyard by exiling 3 other cards from your graveyard, in addition to paying its mana cost. Oh, its other cost, sorry. Whenever 1 or more creatures you control enter the battlefield, if 1 or more of them enter from a graveyard or was cast from a graveyard, put a 2+1/+1 counters on Kotis, right? So, again, you can see this is one of the most balanced when it comes to like using one or the other, right? And this is why a lot of people want this deck. And this is why this deck was very expensive, or is still very expensive, I don't know. Why? Because you play with Teval, it's not the most expensive dragon in the world, so it's just like the clan cost and then +1 for a 4/4 with flying. And every time it attacks, which it has some easiness to do it because it has flying. Now, unless you are playing with, this is a thing that I need to mention, by the way. If you are playing with all the precons, your dragon commanders having flying, it's not the advantage it looks like it is, because everyone has dragons and most dragons have flying. So you are not really getting an advantage here, boys. So it's funny. Now, if you're playing against other normal decks, most of the times, yes, it's an advantage. So you attack, you just are milling your life in. So this is the deck that I like to play the least with. But from a me perspective, okay, it's not because the deck is bad. It's just like a me perspective, because I don't like milling. That's my whole thing. So that's why it kind of feels bad for me. But again, I understand the power of the strategy. I just don't like it. So you mill 3 cards, and then you can just get more lands in. And every time something leaves your graveyard, you create a black zombie token. So this is nice to just add extra lands and add some noise to the battlefield, and you have stuff in there, right? And the zombie druids are, 2/2s, right? So you have some bodies there. That's kind of cool. Some people prefer to play with Kotis, and this is the beautiful thing about this deck. Both commanders are very viable with the deck, which this is something that divides a lot of people's opinions, right? Like, for example, precons, and this is what I was saying a while ago, some people say that precons should be like, out of the box, ready to play. And because a lot of precons have 2 or even sometimes 3 strategies at the same time, they feel diluted. And because of that, well, they are not very powerful because, you have 100 cards. So in the best of cases, like 33% of cards go for each strategy. But most of the time, it's like you have a main strategy and then the other 2 are kind of there and it just muddies the waters. So if you have 2, it's kind of easier. But again, now some people prefer that the strategies are compatible. That will be a better design. And some people say that, no. A precon is for you to start playing, yes, and it should be a good thing to play with, but it should be also a mother, like a breathing pot, melting pot kind of thing where you learn to do deck building. Like if it gives you 2 decks at the same time or 2 strategies at the same time, it will naturally point you towards going one way or the other and upgrading your card, which is what Wizards wants because they will sell you cards this way, and is what Commander is all about, which is doing your own decks with your own identity and mostly the cards that you have left over in your house. Let's not forget that Commander was about building things with the leftovers, and now is like people buy things specifically for Commander. So there's a division of opinions there. Some people say that it should be consistent. Some people say that it should be like, no, you give me half and half or even 3 strategies, and I will take it from there, right? This deck is one of the cases where both kind of work because Kotis is a passive commander, right? So with Tebal, you need to attack. With Kotis, not so much. You can cast a creature spell from your graveyard. You have to remove things from your graveyard and then pay in the cost, and you can get more stuff. And whenever you put stuff into the graveyard, creatures, if they enter from the graveyard, you get more power to Kotis, and Kotis gets to attack. But Kotis doesn't have, flying or trample or anything. So it's okay that it gets bigger, but it's not crazy. Also, you don't need it bigger. The fact that it's there and you can just call stuff from the graveyard is cool. Now, fun fact, the 2 of them are very compatible. If you have this one and you revive something from the graveyard with the effect of this one, it will trigger this one and you create a zombie, right? And that's kind of interesting. These 2 are very, very compatible. And when you look at the deck, one of the reasons why this deck is so sort of after is, well, one is because people like the power creep and, graveyard strategies normally are very powerful. But the other is because the deck is very, very consistent. Like the deck it kind of has a theme that is compatible with the 2 commanders. Even the 2 commanders are compatible amongst themselves, right? So whenever a creature attacks, mill 4 cards, you may cast an instant sorcery from your graveyard with mana value 4 or less without paying its mana cost. If a spell will be put into a graveyard, exile it instead. It's like, okay, so you get stuff to do delve, a bunch of delving, just milling stuff and then paying for stuff with stuff from your graveyard or just getting stuff back from your graveyard. Whenever one or more cards leave your graveyard, choose one that hasn't been chosen this turn. Draw a card, create a treasure token, or create a 2/2 zombie druid. This card is great with any of the other 2. This card is just an insane pool of value for this. Welcome the Dead, draw 2 cards and discard a card, right? And you have flashback. You have all these. And it's funny that you have green in there and, the commander with the Teval dragon with the whole, like, oh, you can put a land per turn in the battlefield tapped. And it's like, okay, you have green, we get it, right? But it's not like it's the main thing. They try, but you don't have like crazy ramp or anything. It's all about milling and then getting stuff back from your graveyard. Now, the problem here is that, and this is where the deck feels like it's missing a little bit. This grave color art is great, by the way, is that you don't have that much mana power, to be able to call stuff consistently with the cost that they have. Because a lot of these cards, they tell you to bring stuff back, but it doesn't come with a something token. So if it dies, it goes back to the graveyard. It's not like it dies and it gets exiled, right? So a lot of this is like, okay, so whenever something enters from my graveyard, do this. Whenever something, or basically just pay or do stuff from your graveyard. So overall, it's a very, very good deck. It's a very, very consistent deck, and it's all about graveyard. So you can imagine that. To me, it's not, I'm not going crazy over it. It's just, but I have to say, it just it just feels right. Like, compared to the two that we've seen so far, this deck is one that really just scratches that itch. And it's like the deck functions as one, because for better or worse, they didn't go crazy with the strategy. It's like, okay, you have graveyards, boys. Okay, so both of them care about removing stuff from the graveyard. Now, one does it one way, one does it the other, but both of them are very compatible. And it, it kind of works. And then you have stuff like your Avenger of Zendikar kind of works. Like when a land you control enters, you get more +1/+1 on plants. That's why you have a lot of plants and whatnot. It's kind of interesting. A lot of the green cards in here are trying to fix for a lot of the costs that you're going to have. They don't feel like they are doing it crazily, right? It's not like, oh, damn, right? Like, and some cards in here that are very good, but at the same time, they feel counterintuitive. So the deck is all about like put stuff in your graveyard and then remove stuff. Now, obviously, if you look at the two commanders, the amount of stuff that you will put into the graveyard will be always bigger than the amount of stuff you will be able to remove from the graveyard, right? So if you go with the dragon, you can get some lands, but it's only one per turn. And you're milling 3, right? So you're milling 3, you're getting 1 back. And with the other is every time you can pay to get stuff back. So you need to pay for the stuff, right? So again, they are better in unison, the two of them together. So Lord of Extinction will work, but it's funny because it kind of, it's there, like it goes against the rest of the deck. Now, you saw the experience counters, you saw the colors, you knew that Meren is going to be here. It's funny to see this, one of the OG commanders, one of the most beloved commanders for black and green, and a very good and powerful commander, in my humble opinion, and it had a deck for its own. And now it's like, well, it's an extra here. It's just funny to see that. It's like when you open Pokemon cards and then the legendary Pokemon are no longer the chase cards. They're just like normal cards in the newer sets, because now something else is a chase card. It's kind of that, right? So overall, it feels good. If you like graveyards, right? If you don't like playing with the graveyard, then this deck is not for you, I guess. But this feels very strong and consistent, which I have to say is one of the better compliments that I can give to a PRECON. Now, and there is rampant growth. So they are trying, see, like Sakura Tribe Elder to search for lands and Satyr. So they try to get you some mana fixes. Maybe not as much as I would like, and some of these cards that are here to kind of move the needle a little bit, you are likely going to removal, right? You're going to like to remove them for the sake of building better decks. But the strategy is there. Now, remember what I said at the beginning about me liking decks with different strategies and whatnot? Bear that in mind, because this deck is beautifully made, and yet it's yet another graveyard deck, right? So at least it has kind of a twist. Now, for the next one, because I'm trying to not make this like a 3-hour video, let's keep the pace. Plus, the longest part, more or less, is when I compared all of them at the end. Mardu Search. This is one of the most polarizing decks. So make attacker tokens and sacrifice them for value. So tokens and attacks. So that's kind of the flavor of the month. And strike while the iron is hot. And you can play with any of the two, but Zurgo is kind of the default, which brings us back to the default being the individual and not the dragon, right? Funny because you could be like, oh, well, it tells a story if the thing is in front, but here the dragon is not really in front. It's kind of one next to each other. This kind of tells a story, and I know I am the only person that cares about this, but maybe someone at Wizards is watching this and they are going like, yeah, he got it. This is exactly what we were going for. Main commander, secondary option, right? They are kind of together. The secondary option is nowhere here because it kind of doesn't make sense that card is here, because it should be one card for each Wizards, but okay, whatever. Then these two are one next to each other when the dragon should be the main one. Now, it likely is because of a visual design reason, right? Like the dragons are bigger bodies, and since the dragons are bigger bodies, they should be behind. That makes sense, right? But fun fact, when you see the last one, Ureni, the Unwritten, is the main commander, and that's the dragon, and the dragon is in front. Now, it's because it's all about dragons, but it's funny that there is a theme here, and in this one, where the dragon should be in front, these two work in unison so well that the art reflects that. Now, maybe that's just me reading too much into it. Let me know. But if you work at Wizards and you are like, man, that's exactly what we were going for. Please let me know. You don't have to do it in public. Just send me a message so I can die in peace. Because I was looking at the boxes the other day after playing with them so much, and I was like, is this on purpose? Because it has to be, right? Like, I mean, if not, it's just one of those coincidences. So let's see. Strike while the iron is hot. And this one is, this one is a red theme. So be the raging storm. I am the storm that is approaching. So let's see how Virgil is doing on this one. It's funny that this one claims to be the storm one when, it's Dragonstorm. Everyone is supposed to be. Anyway, I don't know if I am the only 90s person that every time they say Dragonstorm, the first thing that comes to their head is Dragon Sword, and immediately the Dragon Dagger going beep, 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 beep. So playing the deck, right? Use the Mardu clan's battle-tested tactics and unmatched speed to get underneath your opponents before they know what hit them. Double your tokens by attacking. So that's what I'm saying. Like, all of these decks are 3 colors, but there is one color that is like heavier, kind of. And this one is all about speed, kind of. So you have Surgo Stormrender, nice art. You have some of the context here after the Phyrexian invasion, and then Neriv Crackling Vanguard. The cracking is just making some jokes. By the way, again, if you want to read this, just pause the video and then read it, right? Like, it's cool. I don't read them because you already see how long is this video. And if no one comes to this channel for the lore. If you want lore, just go to Magic Arcanum. That guy is great. So let's see if I can open the. There you go. See, sometimes it's easier than others, like everything in life. So Zurgo Stormrender and Neriv. The guy is so like buff and like obviously the main character of the deck. Then the dragon is just like there in the background, kind of is weird. The tokens, and now these cards smell awful again. It's kind of a theme. Now let's see the sample booster pack. If I can. If it lets me. Maybe. Maybe not. I am trying to not force them too much because, it only has 3 cards in there. So if you force it too much, you will bend the cards. It's not like they are going to break or anything, but, Jeskai Revelation. Well, not bad. Not a bad pull. A mythic in one of these. Not bad. It's not crazy, but... And a Stormshriek Feral. It's cool because all of them come like with a no-name dragon. It's cool. So... let's see, what is this deck about? Well, you saw it's about tokens, right? So, surprise, surprise. Treasure, Spirit, Goblin, Soldier, Human, Rat, Angel, Spirit, Bird, Thopter, Snake, nice snake token, Mirror, Dog with armor, which is just lovely, but looks very Fallout to my taste, Goblin, Eldrazi, Citizen, Warrior, Water again, Servo, and Elemental. So a little bit of everything by my side. So there's a little bit of everything here, and you will see why in a second, because let's look at the commanders. So Zurgo Stormrender. It costs you Mardu, so red, white, black, is a 3/3, and it says, mobilize 1. Whenever this creature attacks, create a tapped and attacking 1/1 red warrior creature token. Sacrifice it at the beginning of the next end step. I always like this type of strategies because, like, listen, you're gonna create tokens, but they are gonna die, right? So it's like, this is not about building an army, it's just about building bulk. So whenever a creature token you control leaves the battlefield, draw a card if it was attacking. Otherwise, each opponent loses 1 life. So when this creature attacks, create a tapped and attacking 1/1 red warrior creature token. So every time you attack with Zurgo, it will create a card that will be attacking, then it will disappear, and that will immediately give you card draw, which is very cool. Now, you will see in a second why this one is very polarizing. Like, the strategy is not bad, and the second one is compatible with the rest of the deck, as we will see in a second. But it's kind of a commander that wants to attack, and it doesn't have you know, you will be like, oh, well, what else do you want? But it doesn't have anything else going for it. It doesn't have like an effect of like, it's like, oh, it has mobilize 1, and for each time you damage or something like that, the mobilize number increases. Like, nope, it's always mobilize 1. So it's gonna be mobilized 1 now, and it's gonna be mobilized 1 at the end of the game. So you're always gonna create 1 tapped and attacking red warrior creature token. So that's okay. Zurgo is okay. Now let's see the dragon. Nerif, Crackling Vanguard for 2 and red, black, and white is a 4/4 spirit dragon. Nice art, by the way. It has flying and death touch. So right there, a lot more aggressive. When Nerif enters the battlefield, create 2 1/1 red goblin creature tokens. So you have some tokens. And whenever Nerif attacks, exile a number of cards from the top of your library equal to the number of differently named tokens you control. During any of your attacked, during any turn you attacked with a commander, you may play those cards. So that's good that it says with a commander, because that way you can, if this card pops up for some reason, you can still keep attacking with Zurgo and it goes in. Now you can see that these two are awfully compatible too, right? But the name of the game is kind of different. Like Zurgo kind of is a self-serving entity at this point. Like he generates 1, and every time it leaves the battlefield, you will draw a card if it was attacking, because it is attacking, so you will always draw cards. And for everything else, for every other token that gets sacrificed, people lose life. So kind of flexible, kind of aggressive, kind of ongo bongo kind of thing. Like not too much to think about here. Nerif is a lot more thinkering kind of commander. So it has fire and death touch, but and then you get 2 goblins, which is okay, I guess. But then whenever it attacks, which you will do a lot because it has flying and death touch, so that's a very dangerous combination. Exile a number of cards from the top of your library equal to the number of differently named tokens you control. So at the beginning, but if you only play with this, you will only have like red goblins. So you will exile 1, and during any turn you attack with a commander, which in this case will be this one. If you're playing only with this one, you may play those cards. So that's good. Now, play those cards mean that you still have to pay for them. They're just gonna get exiled. So this is kind of a more 2 steps in commander, kind of, and this is more like Hulk smash type of thing. To be honest, because we do have to test them with the 2 of them. Like some games with one, some games with the other. To be honest, for what the deck is trying to do, I think Zurgo, again, you will be like, duh, normally the main commander is the commander. It's like, yeah, but Nerif doesn't seem like especially incompatible. It seems weird that, Fire and Death Touch, it will be a very aggressive thing to keep swinging at people until they try to kill it by sacrificing something. But this looks more like an accumulation commander, because you need to accumulate those tokens and don't let them die so that you can play those cards. Again, it's not without paying their mana cost, it's just they are exiled, right? So it's not crazy. I can see some plays that you can do here with this, but it's not ultra crazy. The 2 of them together, they can resonate for sure. Because you can attack a couple of times with this, and every time you attack with Zurgo, but Zurgo doesn't have any. Both of them are missing something to be like a perfectly offensive commander. Zurgo feels like he's missing some snowballing effect, or haste, or trample, or something, right? Or like something that just pumps up the mobilize. And the dragon just feels like, yeah, we're gonna exile things and you can play them, which if they are lands is cool, I guess, but any other thing is like, it's like having a second hand. I think is okay. I guess it's okay, but it's never attack with the commander. So all those things that are there will be locked if they remove your commander. Now it has death touch, so it's not like it's gonna be easily removable, but it still is a thing, right? So it's weird playing with these 2, right? Like this one, it's funny because and I guess this reflects the nature of these 2. I guess I'm not that much into the lore, but like Zurgo feels a lot more like like boom, 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 like a consistent thing, right? Like this turn, boom, this turn, boom, this turn, boom, and then you just have to get support to get them to be able to attack always without like caring for anything else. But Naive is more like a tactical thing, which is weird because it's the dragon, and you will expect the dragon to be the aggressive one. But I guess that's the fun of it. The dragon is like, okay, so I have Death Touch, so I want to swing with it, I install some cards, I'm gonna attack again, so that I can play them. You know what I mean? It's like it's a lot more tactical than you would expect. Now, if you look at the cards, you understand this a little bit. So whenever you attack with this creature and your commander, for each opponent, create a red goblin and sacrifice this creature, create tokens you control, creature tokens you control, gain indestructible at the end of turn. So a lot of token support. Now, this deck does feel, because the colors are not, anti-colors or anything, but this deck does feel like it will benefit the most for some crazy token-related cards, right? Like, because the new ones are not bad. Iron Will Forger, like Lieutenant, if you control your commander, target non-legendary creature you control gains Myriad at the end of turn, so not bad, right, to have that. Will of the Mardu, all of the Will of the cards, I love them for flavor reasons. Create a number of 1/1 red warrior creature tokens equal to the number of creature target opponent controls, and Will of the Mardu deals damage to the number of creatures you control. So, again, numbers and tokens. Bone Devourer, gets with a +1/+1 equal to the number of creatures that die this turn. So it's interesting because, the source of revealing light, but not really. It's interesting that when this enchantment enters, create 2/1 red warriors, and when you attack, each opponent loses life equal to the number of creatures attacking them. So you can see that a lot of these cards are like, like they have Myriad or so it's like attack, right? So this deck feels very red, and it has, some white and black support, but like it's all about like keep attacking, don't wait, keep attacking. And it has that white flavor, of like tokens and adding +1/+1s to things and whatnot, right? This card is kind of interesting because it's not like they are cheap, right? But it does feel, of all the cards, this one is the one that I felt the most like, okay, because this one, like it does feel like they are going to die a lot just out of using them, and you do get a lot of indestructible and things to support them. But it's interesting that even though they seem compatible with each other, and they are, the principle over which over each commander works, it's really not 100% compatible, right? Things with Convoke, and a lot of Myriad. So you're gonna be attacking everyone. You're gonna become public enemy number 1, which I know what they are doing. That I don't know if I agree with that. Like, I don't know if I agree with the whole approach of like, yeah, you're gonna have Myriad. You're gonna attack everyone and their mom, because that's just gonna put a target in your back for 3 different people, and everyone else is gonna come after you just because you're attacking everyone at the same time. Unless, well, it depends on the table. I played in some tables where it's like, well, if you're attacking everyone equally, no one looks at you as like the arch enemy unless everyone is like heavily damaged by your antics, and in that case, you become the arch enemy. But there's Kaya is here for reasons. I really like. It's like, I get it. Like you do +1, everyone gets Death Touch, and that makes your tokens very dangerous, and that's cool. But it's a planeswalker, and you're playing like heavy red, so people are going to just go after her. Blade of Selves, Myriad. Myriad is the name of the game. It's almost like the theme of this thing is Myriad instead of anything else. Now, you do have some tokens spawning. You do have some fun stuff in here. The mana base for all these decks, by the way, is very good. It's decent. This one gets Lightning Grips. Is the one that you will be like, oh, well, this has to have like the Swiftfoot Boots. It's like, nope, it has Lightning Grips because go F yourself. So, say like some removal, draw 2 cards, create a treasure token. Black is here kind of in a supporting role, like draw cards. Everything else is just like, well, when this creature enters, create tokens. Oh, when this thing goes, create top theirs. Oh, when this thing goes here, create that. And, a lot of support cards right now. And after you see so after you see these cards, now we're gonna review very briefly the thing, because it's exactly as I was saying, right? Like if you look at these cards and you look at that deck, it has a lot of myriad, and it does create some tokens. My recommendation will be to create two. It's not like they are going one against the other in terms of a strategy, so it's not like there. But it does feel a little bit like, you know what I mean? Like they are trying to do more or less different things with the tokens. Now, Zurgo is just going to attack. It's sad that he doesn't have anything else to cover for his ass, but I guess you need to provide it to him. So some equipment will be cool, some protection. There are some cards that give indestructible and whatnot, but and because that mobilize really feels like it's just to trigger his second ability. So you're gonna get some cards, but nothing too crazy. And whenever your tokens die, people will everyone will lose life. So that's great. But Nerif is a contradiction because it requires you to exile equal to the number of differently named tokens you control. So if you are playing in a careless token fashion, which is kind of what this suggests with Myriad and whatnot, right? You will get this thing triggered a lot because of Myriad, which is cool. Now, is not as cool for this because it has to be differently named, and when some of those die, of your tokens die, you get less of an effect, right? So funny enough, they are not incompatible, and it's funny that Nerif has like when the commander attacks, so it doesn't need to be Nerif attacking, it can be Zurgo, right? So they can live together perfectly. But it's funny that the whole deck is like attack, token, myriad, and just do like always be like boom, 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 spawning stuff, which is very what Zurgo kind of wants to do, because you can not attack with him, and that's cool. His effect will still trigger if you don't want to sacrifice it. But with Nerif, you need to attack with it to exile things, to get things, so it's not like a crazy thing. In this deck, it really feels like Nerif is the support card that is one of the cards that just generates tokens for this to trigger, you know what I mean? So you can go with both, but Zurgo feels like the thing, right? And then Temur Roar. So it looks like we're gonna be like around 2 hours more or less, which I was like, more or less 25 minutes per deck. So the last one, this is the one that people are like all about it, all around, like, whoa. And this one, the one that has the most expensive price because it says summon dragons. And people go, ooh, because they have like the Ore Dragon and, all that. And people are going crazy about it. And it's very expensive. And it's a fun deck. You will see in a second. So it has ramp mana and summon dragons. It's like kind of everything that you need in life because dragons are expensive. Harness the fury of the dragons. And obviously the main color is green. Spoilers. And that's kind of where the thing should be. Or is it, though? Because, get it? Is it? Ha ha ha. Because trespassers will be punished. Okay, I guess. It's not the flavor that I will go with, but still. So, your deck with the dragon. Now, funny enough, as I said, right, like, funny enough, this is kind of the front of the deck for all of them. If you see the others, like this one, it was the backing thing. Here was a dragon, right? So once again, the theory, the consistency in visual design, because they could have done like the dragon in the same side for all of them, but they didn't. If you look at this, the dragon is not. Okay, beautiful. The dragon is not always in the same side. The whatever is on the back, or like I guess the front of the box, is the main commander, or what they consider like it's the main commander. If it's the first card that is in the deck, that is the main commander, right? So in this case, Ureni is the main commander. So we have this thing here. Temur Roar. Playing the deck. Temur clan is teaming up with the Dragons of Tarkir to deliver death on swift wings. In the early game, you want to keep those aggressive decks in check and ramp until you cast Ureni. And then everything goes downhill from there. So people are going crazy about Ureni. You will see why in a second. The design is kind of cool, I'm not gonna lie. Really unwritten, even under the Dragon Lord Atarka's rule, the spirits were never silenced. And then Eshki Temur's Roar too, right? So you have those two in there. And again, the color wheel, which I love the color wheel. I love it. I love that they put in there so that new players can be like, oh, so that's what the colors mean. Because yeah, it is. So that's cool. Now it's true that Wizards not always respects the color wheel, and sometimes it really pisses me off because it's like, man, it's one of the coolest philosophy designs. Yes, it's kind of restrictive, but that's kind of the joke. You see a color, you immediately go like, oh, okay, they're going this way. Nowadays, it's not that much like that. You see a color and they can go like any way. And some people will defend that, and that's reasonable. You know, it's like, oh, but I don't want to be limited by what a color can do. It's like, well, but that's the freaking point. Like blue is control, right? Like that's kind of the logic. But I guess they're trying to balance the colors and whatnot. Let's see the tokens. Or actually, before I do this, let's open the last sample booster. We actually managed to ninja fairly easy. Interesting. Let's see what we pull. Bloop. Rediscover the way. Oh, well, see, Narset right there. So we kind of... and then a Corroding Dragonstorm. These cards are beautiful. I mean, one thing we have to give to this set, the cards are freaking beautiful. Now, this deck said that it was Ramp Ban and Summon Dragons. So imagine what's there, but let's see what the tokens are about. Treasure, which fits. Beast, a Dragon, a beautiful token, by the way. Another treasure, a copy, a Karok's Blade Wing, a Dragon Egg, a Frog Lizard, a Dragon with an ability. So this token gets +1/+0 until end of turn. Another Dragon Egg, another Dragon, another Frog Lizard, another Dragon with abilities, another treasure token, another Dragon, a Beast, another Dragon, a treasure, and a copy. So Dragon fans are already ecstatic because they're like, oh man, there comes the Mega Man. There comes all the dragons and whatnot. So let's see what is causing all the uproar. Get it? Because dragons is Ureni or Ureni of the Unwritten. So it's kind of an expensive dragon, right? For 4 and green, blue, red is a 7/7, which you know, it means that the price is more or less in line with the effects and whatnot. So it's expensive, but it's not expensive per se. Like the power creep is in line. Flying and trample. So that trample is on the spot. Whenever it enters or attacks, look at the top. With the trample, it's kind of weird because it's like, it doesn't say the combat damage. The trample is just there for the sake of it. If it said whenever Ureni does combat damage, I will be like, oh, okay, that's why it has trample. But the trample is just there for shit and jiggles, you know what I mean? Whenever Ureni enters or attacks, look at the top 8 cards of your library. You may put a dragon creature card from amongst them onto the battlefield. Put the rest on the bottom of your library in a random order. So it's kind of Cascade, but for dragons. And the difference is that you can actually select them. So it's not like Cascade that you pull and then you have to stop and you're limited by mana. It can be any dragon of those 8 cards that you look, and you select it. And the cost is irrelevant. So this thing is kind of very good. And if you have it in a deck like the Ur Dragon deck, for example, it's already very broken. So that's not bad. And you can see already what this deck is going to be about. The deck is all about like, listen, this commander is expensive, right? Everything this deck has is expensive in terms of converted mana cost, right? Not like the cards themselves. So, yep, just get there and try to summon things. That's like the first time you summon this, you get a freebie, and then after that, boom, 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 it just keeps going. And then you have Eshki, Temur's Roar, which is not a bad card, but sadly, that dragon takes a lot of protagonism because, you know, it costs Temur, so green, blue, red, is a 2/2, and it says, whenever you cast a creature spell, put a +1/+1 counter on Eshki. If that spell's power is 4 or greater, draw a card. If that spell's power is 6 or greater, Eshki deals combat damage equal to Eshki's power to each opponent. So the narrative with this one, and again, it's they are compatible, right? It's cool. And if you really wanted me to like, one thing that could be cool is that they kind of do like a panoramic thing, but whatever. So the interesting thing here is that, yeah, if you go with Ureni, it's fun because they are compatible, but they approach the game in essentially different ways, right? So if you want to summarize this, it's more or less like Ureni is all about like, okay, survive long enough until you have 7 mana. And when you have 7 mana, you just summon me. And from that moment on, the party is going to start because Ureni is going to come in and it's a 7/7 with 7/7 with flying and trample. It doesn't have haste, but still you have like a big body there. And then since it entered, it will trigger something else and you will just get 8 cards and hopefully there is a dragon there. You play a dragon. So you have 2 right there. If the other dragon has haste, you at least have something to defend yourself. If not, well, you tried. You already have 2 bodies there, right? And then the next turn, you attack with Ureni, and then, which, has flying, which is very convenient, and then that will trigger again the ability. You will get another dragon. So it's kind of like Kali of the Vast, but not really. So like, but this if you have to summarize this strategy, it's like, okay, wait until like turn 7 at least, right? Like if you're very lucky and you get 7 mana, like 1 per turn, but you don't have like any weird ramp or anything, it's 7 turns, right? If you have ramp spells, which we want to see in a second, you can do it in like turn 4 maybe, depending on what you pull, maybe turn 3 if you are like crazy, your deck is crazy powerful, like yeah, turn 4 or 5 maybe. Eshki, however, is more about the journey, right? Like when you play with Eshki, it's all about the journey because she's cheaper. And so whenever you cast a creature spell, you put a +1/+1. So she's already bigger right there, right? She doesn't have any other effects, but if the spell is 4 or greater, which is not difficult because this deck is full of big things, you get a card, which is good. But if it was 6 or more, everyone gets damage, right? Equals to her power. So it will be 3/3 right at the minimum, right? And then 4/4, 5/5, 6/6, and so on as you summon things. Obviously, they are compatible, right? And they benefit greatly from each other. Or, well, mostly we say that Eshki benefits greatly from Ureni being there. Although it says put a dragon, it doesn't say necessarily triggers it, but every time you cast a creature spell, you have big dragons. By the time you can summon this, Eshki will be sizable, right? If you have like a good mana curve. And that's the name of the game. This is about destination, and this is about the journey, which is fun because the deck is somewhere in the middle. And this is where this deck is like great and it's very expensive, mostly because of the commander, and people are very exaggerated with the scalping and whatnot. Like, it's crazy. But the fun thing is that they are good to upgrade. This deck is very good to upgrade. By itself, you will see it's kind of slow. So you may have this creature enter as a copy of a creature you control with power 4 or greater, except it's a dragon in addition to its other types. Which, it's cool. It's like, oh, well, we have a dragon, I guess. And, we have a dragon, Hammerhead Tyrant. Whenever you cast a spell, return up to 1 target on permanent opponent controls. So it's like dragons. If you control a commander. So one thing I have to say is like, yeah, it's a dragon deck, but at least it's like those old school dragon decks. Like it is dragons, but it kind of has a limitation to it. It's not like the Ur Dragon deck. The Ur Dragon deck, is the best dragon commander. It's like same as Edgar Markov is the best vampire commander, which being objectively the best makes it worst. But the problem with having objectively better commanders is that it makes them boring. Like, of course, if you're gonna play vampires, the best logical choice is Edgar Markov, and dragons is the Ur Dragon, because they don't even have to enter to do their thing, which makes them broken as hell. But when they are in, they're already broken. And then you can be like, well, you can do dragons without the Ur Dragon, you can do vampires without Edgar Markov, and there are better options. Or like my deck doesn't use that, and it's a dragon deck and it's very powerful. Or my deck doesn't use Edgar, it's the vampire deck, it's very powerful. And it's like, yeah. I mean, we can do infinite. Well, almost infinite. Well, I mean, not infinite, but like we can do like a very big number of deck combinations given the amount of cards, and that will be it. But at least this one has some sort of limitation, right? It's not just like a all-you-can-eat buffet like the Ur Dragon. But it's kind of the deal. It's like whenever 1 or more dragons, it's like a dragon tribal, right? So going down to what I was saying at the beginning. Since it is a dragon tribal, to me is not the craziest thing, but I can see why people go over it. And this is kind of the name of the game, right? This is kind of why I find this thing fun but boring when it comes down to people. All these creatures, as you can see, right, are very expensive. which means that you need to get there fast. Now, people go crazy over typals or tribal decks because it's like, oh, I like dragons, and this deck has dragon things, and that's cool. But or vampires or whatnot, and again, that's cool. But you can see that this deck has a lot of defensive things, and just like, well, if you have 6 or more lands, even this card is only 1. If you control 6 or more lands, you create a dragon. It's like, well, you create 1 per turn. It's like, yeah, okay, but good luck, right? Like keeping this body for like 6 turns if you get it at the beginning. That's certainly a thing, right? And besides that, it's just, dragons. And it can attack unless you control 4 or more artifacts or whatnot. And again, it's cool. I just find it very, 2+2, 4. Kind of deck, which has nothing bad, but yeah. Now you're seeing that it has a lot of dragons, right? This is kind of the easy one to build. It's just like dragons or things that resonate with dragons, like Nogi the Draco Zealot, and you just have like opportunistic dragons, Scourge of the Throne. And again, I love dragons too, so I can see why people are like, ugh, and this is like a powerful deck by its own, so it's kind of cool and it's kind of powerful. But I believe you're already seeing the problem. It's a very red deck, which is funny because the main color should be green, but so far only 2 new cards were green. And, draw a card for each creature you control with power 4 or greater. It's like, okay. And whatever, 1 or more dragons you control, deal combat damage to a player. So green is here, not doing the green thing. This thing is here for a reason. I don't know why this thing is here. Like, you can just... If they were like, oh, we need dragons that are kind of cheap. Have a bull. Have the bull that can be a dragon. I guess that works. People will take it. Whatever. Move it. Right? So, again, cool looking cards, cool looking dragons, expensive as it is. And look at this, right? At the beginning of each of your main phases, add 2 green, which is great as some sort of ramp, if it wasn't because it costs 4. And most of your dragons are red. So yeah, it will take care of the generic costs, but yeah. And kind of you want the second effect, right? More than the first one. It really depends on what phase of the game you are, but having the possibility of like targeting with your dragons is very good, right? And removing permanents, doing whatnot. The dragons you control gain double strike. Again, dragons deal damage. The dragons do this, dragon do that. Sarkhan is here because of course he has to be here. It makes dragons cheaper, which is good. Because, well, that's one of the things that you need. Like water. Because again, blue had some great spells at the beginning. In the new cards, right? But then blue is very presential. Like K-Guy is cool, is expensive as hell, and when it dies, you gain control of target creature, which is great. But again, it costs 6, so it's gonna take you some time to get there. Creatures you control have haste, which thank God this thing is very useful, and you can draw cards. So this thing fits into this deck like a freaking glove. So again, the deck is not bad. The only thing that is bad is that, well, this adds mana of any color, but it costs you 3 and whatnot. So this deck is slow. And what's the problem? There is a theme with this type of decks. You have like dual lands and so the orchard, well, dual lands. I hope they're like, you have lands with 2 colors that have some sort of disadvantage. These are not the dual lands, but you know what I mean. So you have Haven of the Spirit Dragon and more, 2 color lands. Do not call them dual lands so that people don't at me. But you have lands, but you don't have multipliers for those lands, and that's kind of the problem. There are things that are cheaper for you to, like Sarkhan makes dragons cheaper, but Sol Ring is here, and you don't have some powerful ways of like all the blue cards that you have here, and like is just basically like, okay, try to control the board a little bit while you are trying to get to the point of summoning Uremi, which is so expensive that, again, this deck, if you play it right off the box, which is normally my videos are about that, like, oh well, you buy them as they are, you play them out of the box, and you kind of keep them like a board game kind of thing. You can upgrade them, of course, why not? That's part of the joke. But if you don't want to, it also works, right? And Dragon spells cost 1 less to cast, which is good because between that and Sarkhan you can get there. But you can see that again. It's mostly about like trying to stop things from happening. You do get some land, some ramp like Kodama's Reach. Ironically, Rampant Growth is in one of these decks. I don't remember which one. I think is in this one, I think. Maybe, or is in the first one. I don't remember. Well, you saw Rampant Growth, right? And I don't think it's here, if I recall correctly. No, it's not here, right? So it's missing a ramp, and you may be thinking, well, I mean, you are an exaggerated. Why am I saying this? Wizards does this a lot, right? We all know that the most expensive things in Magic are the lands, right? Like, not the lands, not these lands, but the good lands, like the dual lands. Lands that don't have any setback, or lands that have, or ramping, anything that gives you ramp, mana rocks, mana rocks that cost 0 and all that, like all that stuff, it's the good stuff. There is a reason why they are so expensive, because they are very powerful, right? So ironically, the most powerful thing in Magic are lands and is mana, just period, right? So this deck is kind of interesting because like the deck works, but you need to, and it's funny that they are selling it so expensive because it works, but for it to really work, you need to add some ramp so that the deck moves forward. Why? Because this happens with other decks. Like the Valgaboth deck that was also very expensive, people were like going crazy after it and whatnot. In every pre-con set, at least the ones with 4, there is always one deck that is more expensive because the community is like, oh, this deck, right? Even in the ones with 2, like the Ether Drift ones, the Zombie one, that was more expensive because the commander was good, and also because the energy deck was kind of But normally, there is always one deck that is stronger because it belongs to an archetype that just makes it stronger, or people just like that archetype, or why not? In this case, this is the stronger deck, right? Like, it's very clear. This is like the one playing for the fans, right? It's like the dragons. It summons dragons. It gives you dragons cheap and whatnot. The co-commander is kind of cool. It's kind of interesting, but it's like, we are here for this, baby. We're here for the dragon. So it's funny because the deck is like cool, but it's not doing anything for you because Wizard is not, it was never good at adding good ramp or good mana bases for the commander decks because they know that it will be too OP. Like most of the time, the difference between a precon and a very good competitive commander deck is the mana base. Like, so a lot of times you get a precon and you just swap half of the mana base and the deck immediately goes up like 2 power levels, right? Like, well, at least in the old power system. In the new power system, it will go to 4, I guess. Like, yes, there's always like 10 dot cards. There's always like 10 cards that are like, why is this thing here? And you can exchange them easily for like better cards with no problem. But the mana base is always what chokes the commander decks because they are just slow, the precons, right? And in this case, it's extra noticeable because this thing is not bad at all. I swear it's not bad. I'm not complaining about this deck, but it is slow, and it has a problem that is its own fame, right? Maybe the first time you play with it, people will not be aware of it because you know how it goes, right? Like you play with people and you're like, oh, what deck are you using? I'm using this one. Oh, that's crazy, right? And like people. There is always this guy that goes like, oh, let me see your commander, and that's okay. You're supposed to read everyone's commander, right? And be like, okay. And, a lot of people just read it and go like, okay. Some people are so much into the game that they recognize the commander from across the table and go like, uh-oh. And one of 2 things happen when you play with this guy, which is either people go like, wait, does this, oh, okay, this is a powerful card, or they recognize it, right? But immediately the word that comes afterwards is like, guys, this card is broken, right? Kind of thing. Like you immediately get eyes on you. And even if it doesn't happen that way, it happens if they know that this is the most sought after precon, or just because, if you play once with it and won, people will already be like, whoa, let's look for it. So what's the problem of this deck is that it is too slow for what it is trying to do. And people will notice pretty fast what it is that you're trying to do. Because you will pull other. It's not like you are doing nothing for 7 turns at least until like Ureni is in. No, you have other cards. You have a lot of dragons in there. But the problem is that you have a lot of dragons. So like you put your dragons and your dragons are powerful, you will become the archenemy. In the games that were done with this, you can play Commander with 5 people, and you can play them like 5 battle royale. You can do like a star thing, like like the 2 people next to you are your allies, so you can target them, and the 2 people across the table from you are your enemies, and everyone has the same setup. So that's a very cool way of playing Commander. I don't know if you never played it, tried it. So 5 people, the 2 people next to you are your allies. You can target them, and the 2 people across the table from you, or like not immediately next to you, are your enemies. So for you to win, you need to defeat those 2. So everyone has to defeat 2 different people, and some of them overlap. It's a very cool way of playing Commander when you are 5 people and you don't want to leave someone outside. It's cool. So what happens is that even playing in a star formation or playing in Battle Royale with 4, what normally happened is that the moment it was understood that this deck was slow, but it was this deck, it will become the target, not even the archenemy. It was like, since the beginning of the game, it was like, oh, better get rid of this guy, because, this is like punchy very fast. And, playing with the graveyard, doing spells and doing defense. So everyone is like kind of doing their thing, but this thing is just like snowballing slowly in the background. And if you're very smart playing with this deck, if you don't have like any good mana base, or you don't improve it, the kind of what the deck wants you to do is like go pew 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 with some of the control the cards that it has in there to try to remove things from the other players while you're trying to build your own deck, so that Ureni comes in and then the party starts. But that's kind of the thing with Ureni. That's why the other one is kind of funnier, because it will go along with the commander, right? So with the deck, Eshki is kind of, it goes along with the game, with the session. But Ureni is kind of one of those. It's just sitting there. People know it's coming, and when it's coming, it's like Ganondorf or something. It's like, oh, everyone knows it's coming. We can't let it come. And when it's summoned, people will remove it immediately or try to remove it. Now, when it comes, it triggers, and it comes with another dragon, but still, right? And some of the other dragons you have in there are very powerful, but some of them are not really that powerful. So sometimes you trigger Ureni just to get a normal dragon, and that kind of feels bad. But it is what it is. Now, for what everyone was waiting for, let's rank them, right? So I'm going to use the face commanders to talk about the decks, which some people told me, and that's true, that I could just do it with the boxes like this, but they are too big, and we are doing it with the cards since the beginning. And then we're going to do commanders as a whole, and that will include the secondary commanders. So these are the 5 face commanders. So this will represent the decks, right? So from left to right, I will order them in terms of potential, right? Of like, you play with the deck and you're like, with a couple of upgrades, this thing can go hard as hell, right? So I don't think this is going to surprise anyone when I do this, right? This is kind of, by the way, if I put them like this means they are tied. Doesn't mean that this is better than this one. It's like they are in the same level, right? So these 2 are very easy to upgrade. Like, a couple of upgrades, the things are already very good. A couple of upgrades, the thing is very dangerous, right? So I believe that with this one and this one and maybe this one, or maybe if you want to put like this, right? Like from here to there, this is how easy it is to upgrade them with stuff that you may have in your house and whatnot, right? So, or maybe just buying stuff from, buy singles. So, why? Because, well, this is dragons, right? So any dragon that you have, any powerful dragon, as long as it is within those 3 colors, it works. It will work in the deck, right? And you just need some mana base and it works. Here is all about the graveyard. So any black card kind of works in here. It doesn't need to be dragons. Nothing necessarily says dragons here. To be clear, the only deck in here that is really about dragons is this one. All the others have dragons, but they are actually about something else. So this one is very easy to upgrade to, because anything that you have that those things with your graveyard, so basically any black card, just fits in here beautifully. So it's likely you will have stuff in your house that fits in here. For this deck, yes, anything that generates tokens, again, within the colors, right? So everything's within the colors. Obviously, otherwise you can't fit it in the deck. But anything that generates tokens fits any red card that is like for the sake of, attacking or just like getting haste or whatnot fits in here, and you likely have a lot of those in your house. So this works. Now these two are trickier. If you really want to squeeze me and be like, come on, don't be like that, try to be more like, don't do the trick, just put them in a line, it will be like this, I guess, right? Like, actually it's not that easy to get like proper dragon stuff. Graveyard stuff is just easier. So it will be like this. And then this is just spell casting or spell slinger, right? So any spells in blue and red that kind of fit in there, they work, and it's just about like going double and triple and whatnot. So it works. I'm not saying it's as easy as this, because getting spells that are actually good that fit in here, even though, technically, if we go by that principle, this should be the first one. Like, everyone has spells and instants and whatnot, right? But like that just work with the deck in any of the two angles, like the prowess angle or this angle, the flurry angle, is not as easy, right? So that's why I'm putting it here, but maybe it could go this way, right? This one is the trickiest one to upgrade, because you need walls and if you go the lifelink route, I guess, there's a lot of lifelink cards, but you know what I mean? It's like, yeah, sure. So the most difficult one to upgrade for sure, with the things that you have in your house. Now, for potential, right? Like with a couple of upgrades, how hard does this deck get? I would say something like this. No, I'm not super against this one. Again, this doesn't mean that this is the worst, but a couple of upgrades, like, assuming you have all the cards in the world, like a couple of upgrades, how hard this deck can get with spending less, or like the fastest, right? With less upgrades. So boom, 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 boom. I believe that this one can get, I believe that you need to swap a lot of cards here. This one, maybe, again, if you want to, like, maybe let's do it like this, right? If you have all the cards in the world, it's kind of the order that will be. This is tricky to upgrade. If you want to do it properly, this is a very, very tricky deck to upgrade, because, again, it is tricky, right? So that's kind of how it goes. Now, when it goes, going down to commanders, right? Like commanders and what they do, this includes every commander, right? So it will be this one, and this one, and this one, and this one, and this one. Now, my order for these 10 commanders, in terms of like the funniest to play with, well, if you are like the most powerful ones, the most powerful ones will be like these, maybe, in my opinion. Again, I'm not like a master of maybe these, maybe these. This is not bad, but still. This is kind of a weird one, and maybe this is the worst, you know what I mean? Something like this. This will be my order, maybe. Of commanders, again, after playing with them, and like the ones that of power, if we're going for what we had fun with, I'm just going for the commander decks, which is gonna make it easier. So let's go back to the original setup, right? So what's up with the different decks and what each one does, right? So in terms of, so we already talked about upgradability, how easy it is, how good they can get if you upgrade them properly, which, if you want to see a proper guide, just look at better channels for that. This channel, I am not one to be like, oh, you should use this card, you should use the card, because I am not that good at that. Like, a lot of times to do my improved decks, I look at deck lists and I look at videos, and so I'm not the best person to recommend you in that. I can tell you from what I know and from playing with them and whatnot, what I feel is the best one to upgrade. But with what should you upgrade it, then that's entirely up to you. This is like, there is not like a best deck in Magic. There are like similar decks that kind of, if you see CDH, a lot of them kind of step on each other in a lot of cards, right? Like they repeat a lot of cards, but at the end of the day, you can see like the best or dragon deck, and have like 6 different versions of it because people just swap a card for another and whatnot, right? So it really comes down to feeling. I think that the 2 most important things, in my opinion, to kind of close this thing, right? One is the deck that I like the most, and then is the deck that I think is objectively the closest to be considered the objectively better deck, right? So let's try to put it that way. So let's do it first my way. The deck that I enjoyed playing with the most, the deck that I thought it was funniest playing with. So you know where this is going. I love weird decks. So this strategy was weird as hell. I liked it. It's true that, the 2 commanders are doing kind of a different thing, but if you play with fellow Thar, it's fun. I mean, I liked it. It's kind of weird. The deck out of the box is not the most powerful one, and you need to have the mindset of a person that is playing with defenders and lifelink, right? So it kind of is what it is, right? So we are not going to pretend like, oh yeah, it's like, it is what it is. It's fellow Thar, and but I like the idea. I like the deck a lot. It's kind of weird. Now from this here, now I like the Narset deck a little bit more than the rest because it's kind of a spellslinger. I liked it, right? And then I guess this like here, right? Because, and again, this is entirely my preference kind of thing, right? So I like weird decks, weird or like unconventional decks. I like this. Spellslinger is kind of a bothersome thing to do too. I don't think the deck itself does it that good, but I did have a great time playing with it. The Urani is in the middle because to me is that, right? It's like bread, right? It's like, it's good, it will fill you up. It never fails to do its thing. It's not the best thing that you can eat because the deck is slow, in my opinion. And it will make the Dark Enemy very fast, and it doesn't feel like a fun thing to me, because it's just like, oh, big dragons go blue, right? It's like it's not as creative as like, well, I'm playing with defenders, boys, or like, I'm doing a spell slinging, so and you're just doing stuff and multiplying stuff and doing stuff, right? So that's why. Now Surgo is here because the deck felt okay. I don't like it too much. Like, I understand what we're trying to do, but it does feel like you're just generating stuff to kill it. At least when you play with Surgo. When you play with Nerif, the deck is a completely different beast because you have to be more conservative and then summon things. But it did feel like you're creating stuff to send them to just always attack, always be sacrificing. It's not a bad deck. It's very fun, mind you, but to me it felt kind of brainless. And again, that's kind of the thing. If you see this one, if I tell you that I like complex, interesting decks like this one, like, weird mind-bending stuff like the Doctor Who deck, then this deck is the antithesis, right? Because this deck is just like Hulk smash, boom, 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 myriad, right? And it's like cool, that's great, love it, but I don't love it that much. It is what it is. So, at the end of the day, and for some reason, there is a reflection on top of this card that I don't know how to get rid of. So I will move them all to this side of the table. I try to fix the lighting. Sometimes everybody hurts. See, I think I fixed it. Well, now I have a reflection on this one. Well, in the channels, people, you know how it is. But funny enough, there is not a direct light on top of this table. Everything is pointing outwards, and yet this happens. So, sorry guys, I tried. But you can tell that from video to video, it kind of changes a little bit because I'm always playing with it. But it is what it is. Now, maybe if I do this, yeah, I think I remove most of it. Well, more or less. What can you do, right? So, funny enough, now it's darker. A lot of darker for me, but it looks okay in the camera, I guess. So, the wonders of video making. Now, to not make this longer, yeah. So I did feel this brainless, and the only reason why I'm putting this one here is because I don't like playing with the graveyard. Now I know that a lot of you will be like, "Whoa, what the hell? That's one of the best decks," and it's the one that the prof showed. How can you do that? You're heretic. And it's like, true, but I don't like playing with the graveyard. So this is my rating of my fun with the deck, right? Like, so I didn't like it that much. Now, and this is why I like to separate it. Now let's try to do a ranking of like what I think is objectively, what I think is objective. So what is subjectively, in my opinion, the best decks in the list, right? Out of the box, no upgrades, not touching anything. Just play gameplay based, no value, no stock market shit, right? So, and this is where you're gonna laugh your ass at me. So, I do think that the Teval deck is the better one right off the box, because the two commanders kind of complement each other perfectly. You can switch one for the other and the deck kind of works, and it just changes your approach a little bit. So you kind of have two decks for the price of one there. You have them with all of them, but with this one you can really swap between the two of them. So that's kind of interesting. And so there is that. So I think this is the best deck. And I know normally it will be backwards that you reveal the best deck at the end, but what can I say? I'm not very good at making content. So I think that more or less this will be my order, I think. And it's a shame because, again, I like this the most, but the logic for this. So best overall, the two commanders complement each other perfectly. They work. You can switch one for the other. The deck just works. There is nothing else I can say. The deck just works. The deck works. It works perfectly. It does things with your graveyard. It's easy to upgrade. You can just upgrade it with any graveyard-based thing. It's not subject to dragons or anything. It just works and it's beautiful, right? So it is what it is. Beautiful. This one is very Hulk smash, right? So a lot of people are after this one. I can see why. It's okay. It's very slow, right? So, but I think this is the set is called Tarkir Dragonstorm. So if you are coming for that, this is kind of the deck for that. This is the dragon deck, right? So objectively, this is your deck. If you're in for the flavors, I put the light and things change. So objectively, kind of more or less, this is what the Dragon experience is all about. Now, this is straightforward, boom, 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 commander fun, not much to think about. And I think this is like the perfect middle deck, kind of. Like it's not too complex, it's not too powerful. It works out of the box. It's not very easy to upgrade, but it's upgradable. You know what I mean? It's like, it's there. It's like a good meal. It's there. It works. Now, the debate is between these two. I like this one. I like the strategy. I like the weirdness. I do acknowledge that this is not a deck for everyone. Even with any of the two strategies, this is the absolute opposite of this one. This deck is like boom, 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 boom. And this deck is like, well, more or less, right? Defender, lifelink, defender, lifelink, and then boom, boom, boom. Trying to turn your walls into attackers and whatnot. It is kind of missing finishers, right? This one strategy is clear, this one strategy is clear, this one strategy is clear. This one is kind of missing finisher. It is implied that the finishers are like, okay, convert your things and go boom, which, okay, right? And it works, but, I wouldn't call it, even though it's my favorite one in terms of, I wouldn't call it like baby's first Magic the Gathering deck or anything. And it's not because it's like overly complex, because I'm always talking about this deck like it's like, ooh, it's the most complex deck in Magic. It's like, not really, but it's tricky to upgrade it. It's tricky. It's not as easy as like, it's a vampire deck, let's put vampires. And this one is not as easy as like, oh, let's put walls, right? Because not all walls are good for this. You need to be kind of schemy and tactical with it, and kind of a thing. And this one goes last for a myriad of reasons. Right? Because, well, for once is like, why are the dragon and the cannon together in the car? Like, what the hell is wrong with, like, Wizard? What's wrong with you? What is up with the consistency? Well, so that's point number one. But point number two is, this deck is okay. You know what I mean? One thing that I need to make very clear, I didn't make it clear at the beginning, because, engagement, you have to watch the video until the end. But the thing is, all these decks are very good, right? Like comparing to, for example, Either Drift, where one deck was good and the other was okay. If you bought the last 3 energy decks and kind of did one with all the pieces of all 3 decks, it was a good deck. But, normally they have like 4 decks, and it's like one is obviously the strongest, and then other is kind of okay, and the others are meh. That's kind of a theme. When the last time they did 5 decks, which was with March of the Machine, the Knights deck, which I can remember something Javal of Zar Javal of Tarkir. I don't know. I don't remember the name, but the Knights deck was obviously the best, and then you had the Angel deck that had the Convoke. That was the second best, and then you had the one with the Lion that was Phyrexianized. That was the third, and then it was okay, and then the other 2 were shit. Which the ideas were good, but the decks were shit. Here is different. It's like all 5 decks are good, right? Like if you buy any of those, you're not gonna go to your, if you play with other people with precons, because again, the balance, the power level here, it's a thing. But if you play against other precons, any of these 5 are very cool decks, are very good, That's why I'm saying like, for upgrades, or on its own, or compared to whatever. But the Narset deck, or sorry, the Shiko deck, because technically Shiko goes first, but like, on its own, it's kind of there. I don't know. It's, if you saw the Thunder Junction decks, the best deck objectively was the Spellslinger deck, and this is kind of that plus white, right? So it should be a better deck, and yet it feels like it's trying to do things, and then it has monks with prowess somewhere. So it's not a bad deck. It just feels like it's missing, one or two vitamins. So if you had to upgrade it, you had to upgrade it better than the others for it to like have a better punch. And it's not as freaky funny as playing with defenders, right? Or it's not like brainless fun. If you really want to put me into a spot, it will be something like this, right? Or maybe even like this 3 and then this 2. Like it's funny because I don't like graveyard play, but I do have to admit that this is the best deck. Because yes, everyone goes after this one and it's powerful and dragons, boom, boom, boom. But it's slow. It's not perfect. Out of the box, without touching them, I think this is kind of the order. And even if you, this will be like this, maybe. Or, maybe like this, right? Without touching them at all, kind of the order. But I'm trying to be more or less objective and consider the power of the deck and whatnot. And it should be something like this, right? But again, now, if you ask me my order, it should be like something like this or whatnot. Now, trying to put the 2 orders together, so a mix between my personal opinion, and this is what we're going to close the video with. So stand up for these people. 2 hours in, this is how we close the video. Now, I told you my personal preference. I told you my opinions on commanders and how easy they are to upgrade and whatnot. Now, I told you my personal preference and the more or less objective ranking of them. Now, let's mix the 2 together. And in my opinion, it will be something like this. Something like this. Right? This is the Parks and Recreation official ranking. But yeah, just take like my preference or the more or less objective and decide for yourself. And those are the commander decks for Tarkir Dragonstorm. Now, conclusions on this. Man, what a video. I enjoyed every single one of these decks. I think they are very cool. The Tarkir Dragonstorm set is very cool. I think it's the best set we're going to have an entire year. And mind you, this comes from a Final Fantasy and a Spider-Man fanboy that likes the space operas and likes Avatar The Last Bender a lot. So considering all the other sets, and also like Mad Max and racing and all that was my thing, and Either Drift was shit in my opinion, but but in terms of flavor, mechanically it was whatever, but flavor, it was all over the place. So even though I like all the IPs or ideas that are coming from Magic, this is what I came when I came to Magic, right? I played Yu-Gi-Oh!, I played Pokemon, I came to Magic some years ago, a long time ago. And the fantasy, the dragons, the thing, the world of Magic, this is why I'm here. And these 5 decks with the 5 clans and the 5 spirit dragons are very good decks. 5 very good decks. Even if this deck is the worst, is still, in my opinion, is still better than any of the Either Drift decks or some of the decks from the past year and from entire sets than the past year, right? So, and with a lot of more potential, because the idea, the deck is not bad. The problem is all the siblings are very powerful, right? So the ideas are good, the decks are good. There are some inconsistencies. Obviously, this is the worst because, you know, it's not a card for the dragon and card for the can. You know, I don't know what they were thinking, but you know, this is, we need more of this. We need one, you know, if they do like this, like Either Drift has 2 commander decks and Edge of the Eternities has 2 commander decks. I guess Avatar is going to have 4, I guess, because 1 for each element. And, you know, Final Fantasy is going to have 4 because money, right? But if we go with this model, like, you know, 2, 2, 2, and then 1 with 5 or 1 with 4, I'm glad that we do it with this. 5 cans, the dragons, and I'm glad that this thing is running out of stock and it's selling like hot pancakes because it's sending a message to Wizards that is like, we like this. The set is well done. The cards are beautiful. Even the special treatment cards, the promo cards, those things are beautiful. All of them. So there's a lot of power creep, which also helps to sales, right? But, you know, great set of commander decks. Any one that you buy, you will be happy with it. Just take a look. Just watch out for each play style. They all are going for different things. And, you know, thank you very much for staying for 2 hours with me. I try to be as comprehensible as possible while also being, you know, kind of normal language, talking about cards, talking about random shit at the same time. So if you enjoyed this, please let me know down below, or at least put a comment saying, I survived the 2 hours of this freaking guy ranting like a crazy maniac. And if you bought one of these, let me know which one you bought. Or if you agree with my ranking or you don't. I don't know. Let me know. I love talking about this shit. That's why I talk alone with a camera for 2 hours. So, hey, thank you very much for watching. And I hope to see you next time on PAX and Recreation. Bye.